Lunch break of day 19 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry, Tranche 2, Phase 2. We've spent the morning listening to the live evidence of Jacqui. She was the woman who was deceived into a long-term relationship by Bob Lambert and had a child by him. She's been given a very full and frank response to the questions. She's got no filter, as our Jacqui. She was an animal rights activist. She was a hunt sab. She talked about her involvement in East London animal rights, about how she went sabbing it, particularly against the Surrey Union hunt. So she was particularly good at really explaining the violence of the terrierman and the experience of being a hunt sab and what it was like. I'm joined as half an hour with Eveline Lubbers from the Undercover Research Group. Eveline, what do you think of Jacqui's evidence this morning?
Well, as you said, she's very clear and she has very clear memories of some things, but as she explained, maybe not of everything, because she also she got back in touch with Bob Lambert because he's the father of her child, and so she has been talking with him about all kind of things. So her memories got mixed up. Sometimes she doesn't really know. She explained what she knows from talking to Lambert and what she knows from back in the day. And also now, added to that, is the disclosure of all the reports that she has been reading. So you must give it to her that, it is pretty difficult to be straight on your memories. But one thing she remembered very vividly and understandably is that she was thrown into a freezing cold lake by a terrierman on a hunt sap one day that just picked her up and swinged her into the lake, and she's very young, and as she said, they didn't know whether she could swim or not. She was soaking wet and had to get back to London on public transport, soaking wet. So that was, that was her example when asked about violence during the sabbing. As with always, she's been asked about violence from the side of the protesters, the hunt sabbing. But she was very clear in her examples that most of the violence came from the huntmen, the terriermen, as she called them, and that if anyone brought weapons or things that could be used as weapons, it was them. And she was very clear. She's been on very many hunt saps, and she only stopped when she was quite late in her pregnancy, as she explained.
One of the bits of her evidence that I was most moved by, she talked. We saw one of the reports following the Wickham raid, which was an animal liberation raid on some labs. And following the raid, one of the people who was arrested and was facing trial became a persona non grata. It turned out he had an address book which the police had grabbed, and that Bob Lambert told her and lots of other people not to talk to him, that he was the reason for the conspiracy charge coming forward, and basically that he was a broken man. She was really, really angry about this. She talks about how awful it was that this was done. It was shameful. This was somebody who was, she described them as very vulnerable, somebody who was very committed to animal rights, for whom animal rights activism was their life. And they lost everything in terms of their friendship networks and their involvement in the groups, because Bob Lambert was going around telling everybody it was this person's fault, when in reality it was the undercover cops' fault. And I mean, this is something we see, I think, with the other undercover cops throughout time. Certainly my own experience of the undercover cops pointing at other people, encouraging paranoia, telling people not to trust other activists. She said there was a lot of that. Bob Lambert was always telling her to be wary of people. This guy's a wrong and that guy's a wrong, and not to trust people, which went against her instincts really and became the norm. And I think this is something which we've seen before and we're going to see a lot more.
Yes, and one of the other things is that we've got one day for her evidence, which is obviously not enough. We can say that already.
It's going to be late.
But it's going to be late. But also, I must say that the structuring of the questioning is very chaotic. It's you know, like, and also it's not explained to her very well, so it's going back and forth in time. So, you know, then we're talking after she met Bob Lambert, and then before, and then we go back, and then even the barrister herself is losing track and losing her references. So, and it as Jacqui herself has a lot to say, it's and goes beyond the question sometimes because she's so filled with anger and stuff that she does want to say. Everything takes quite a long time, which is worrying because she'll get tired. We've seen that with everybody. They're building up with like easy stuff, your own history and what actions you were on. So we're going to get to Debenham and her relationship with Bob Lambert in the afternoon when she's more tired and when she's more, you know, like, we've seen this all the time, and you really wonder why it has to be in, you know, like why the more important stuff has to wait until the afternoon, as if you want to break down the witnesses, and as if there is something that they would say if they're more vulnerable because they're tired, which there isn't, because it's a truth-finding. You know, it's not a legal trial. And one of the things Alison pointed out is that just before lunch they said, we're going to return to your romantic relationship to Bob Lambert after lunch. And Alison made, you know, who's been in a relationship herself with Mark Jenner, made a point of it to say that they shouldn't refer to it as a romantic relationship. How long, you know, we've been going on for 14 years now. These were not romantic relationships. These were deceptions. These were
abuse.
These were. It was abuse. It was not a romantic relationship, and it's not. So that the questioning should be sort of neutral, and not, you know, like calling it a romantic relationship is going against everything that has been found out since, and the points the women have been made since.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree. There were some other things that Jacqui talked about. She talked about the guilt that she felt about the fact that she felt that she had somehow been responsible for some of the people who'd got arrested for some of the raids and went to prison because that she talked to Bob Lambert about it. You know, I think it's really important that people who it's not your fault. None of this is your fault. She talked quite movingly as well about how getting involved in animal rights had given her a place in the world, and how, like, before that she'd been very lost. She'd been estranged from her family since she was 17, and the animal rights had, like, she'd found people, like-minded people, and she could do something. I think that was something I think a lot of us who've been involved in activism can really relate to. I think she's been really good. She's come across incredibly powerfully. Some of the things she said have been very moving, and she's been quite funny on times as well.
She's really funny. Yeah, I can't really repeat anything, which is like sort of adding small sort of extra sentences sometimes, and being ironic and being sort of relevant. How do you say? This is my Dutch.
Irreverent?
No. Sort of making her own position, sort of undermining it in a way, or undermining the police, or, you know, sort of putting in her own opinion, and you know, like she really has come a long way. She has come a long way, and she's doing really well, I think.
We haven't got that long for lunch as ever, and I really need to go and get something to eat, so we'll call it there. But we'll be back tweeting the hearings as they happen this afternoon. We'll do another one at the end of the day. I'll do another little short recap in the break if we get opportunity. Thanks for joining us. Anything else you want to say before?
No, it's fine.
All right, yeah. See you all later. Cheers.